You ever meet a woman who seems perfect at first? She's charming, beautiful, maybe even mysterious. You find yourself drawn in, not because you chose to be, but because something about her energy pulls you. The way she talks, the way she looks at you. It feels like you've known her forever. But what you don't realize in those early moments is that sometimes what feels magnetic isn't chemistry. It's danger wrapped in attraction. See, most men ignore red flags because they mistake emotional intensity for connection. You think she's passionate, when in reality she's unpredictable. You tell yourself she just loves deeply. But what you're really dealing with is emotional chaos, disguised as affection. And the reason it's so hard to see it is because you want to believe in her potential more than you want to accept her reality. The truth is, red flags rarely look red in the beginning. They look like personality, like excitement, like something different from what you're used to. But deep down, your instincts whisper, something feels off. You just don't listen. Because when you're emotionally involved, logic doesn't lead anymore. Desire does. And that's where most men lose themselves. Let's talk about the first red flag most men overlook: inconsistency. At first, it feels exciting. One day she's all over you, texting, calling, laughing, sharing everything. The next day she's distant, cold, or suddenly busy. You start wondering what changed. So you chase. You try harder, thinking maybe you did something wrong. But here's the psychology behind it. Inconsistency is a control mechanism. It keeps you addicted. The human brain gets hooked on unpredictability. It's called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same psychology that keeps people addicted to gambling. You never know when the reward is coming, so you keep showing up, hoping it'll happen again. When a woman plays hot and cold, it's not just about mood swings. It's about testing your emotional stability. She's unconsciously learning how much of your peace she can disturb before you break. If you stay calm, she sees your strength. If you react, she learns your weakness. And once she knows what triggers you, that's when emotional manipulation begins. Subtle, invisible, and devastating. Now, the second red flag is one that hides behind charm, a woman who always plays the victim. At first, you feel sympathy. You want to protect her, be the man who never hurts her like the others supposedly did. She tells you about her exes, how everyone treated her wrong, how she's been misunderstood all her life. You feel special, chosen, because she trusts you enough to open up. But here's the trap. When someone always positions themselves as the victim, they never take responsibility. And if she never takes responsibility for her past, she won't take responsibility for what she does to you. Over time, you'll notice a pattern. No matter what happens, it's never her fault. Every argument, every misunderstanding, every emotional mess somehow becomes something you caused. And because you care, you start apologizing for things that aren't even your fault. That's when she knows she has you emotionally cornered. You're no longer leading, you're reacting. And once that happens, attraction fades, respect disappears, and the relationship turns into a quiet power struggle you can't even see happening. There's a certain kind of woman who seems intoxicating, not because she's openly toxic, but because she knows how to make you feel like she needs you. That's where the third red flag comes in. Emotional dependency disguised as affection. She tells you things like, Uro, you're the only one who understands me, or I don't know what I'd do without you. And at first it sounds sweet. You feel wanted, needed, important. But underneath that warmth is something dangerous. She's not trying to connect. She's trying to attach. Psychologically, this is known as anxious attachment. These women fear emotional abandonment so deeply that they cling harder, demand more, and slowly make your life revolve around their emotional comfort. It's not love. It's control through dependency. The more you give, the less peace you have. Because love from a place of fear always turns into chaos. One day you'll realize you're walking on eggshells just to keep her from breaking down. And here's the thing. She doesn't do it to hurt you intentionally. Most of the time it comes from past trauma. But if you stay long enough, you'll start losing your identity in the process of keeping her calm. You'll mistake exhaustion for devotion and anxiety for connection. That's how men end up emotionally drained in relationships they can't explain why they can't leave. Then comes the fourth red flag: constant comparison. She'll bring up her ex, other men, or some ideal type of guy. Sometimes directly, sometimes subtly. Maybe she'll mention how her ex used to surprise her more, or how some other man pays more attention. You might laugh it off at first, but those comparisons aren't random. Psychologically, it's a form of validation control. She's planting seeds of inadequacy in your mind. Why? Because the moment you start feeling not enough, she gains emotional leverage. You'll start trying harder to impress her, dressing better, texting faster, giving more attention, not out of love, but out of fear of losing her approval. It's manipulation through insecurity. A confident woman uplifts you. A toxic one tests how far she can lower your confidence before you start begging for her validation. And here's the part that stings. Once you start chasing her approval, she'll pull back even more. Because for her, power feels safer than intimacy. That's why many men feel emotionally starved in these kinds of relationships. You'll be doing everything right, loyal, loving, supportive. But still, she'll make you feel like it's never enough. It's not because you're lacking. It's because she's addicted to emotional control. And the more you try to please her, the less she respects you. That's the paradox. Now, this brings us to the fifth red flag. And it's subtle but deadly. A woman who can't handle accountability. When she's wrong, she flips it. When you call out her behavior, she says, "You're overreacting," or "You're too sensitive." That's called gaslighting. And the moment you start doubting your own emotions, that's when you lose the psychological battle. You see, a mature woman owns her mistakes. A defensive one rewrites them. And once she learns she can twist reality to escape responsibility, she'll do it again and again. You'll find yourself explaining things that should be obvious. You'll try to prove your intentions to someone who's not even listening. That's not love. That's confusion packaged as a relationship.
Here's where it gets darker because the next red flag isn't loud, it's quiet, it hides behind sweetness, behind those "I just want what's best for you" kind of statements. It's control disguised as care. At first, it feels flattering. She wants to know where you are, who you're with, what you're doing. She says things like, "I just worry about you," or "I just miss you too much." It feels like affection, but slowly the questions turn into monitoring, the care turns into control, and before you know it, you're explaining yourself for simply being yourself. Psychologically, this is about possession, not protection. It's her subconscious fear of losing control over your attention. She'll disguise it as love because it sounds softer that way, but love and control can't coexist. Love gives freedom, control takes it away, and once she starts controlling your time, your space, your choices, she's not connecting with you anymore. She's consuming you. Here's what makes it so dangerous. She'll make you feel guilty for wanting space. The moment you try to set boundaries, she'll say, "You've changed," or "You don't care about me like before." But that's not true. You haven't changed. You've just started seeing through the illusion. Now, the seventh red flag: drama addiction. Some women thrive on emotional chaos. They'll create arguments out of thin air, start fights over small things, or accuse you of things that don't exist. And then, just when you're exhausted and ready to give up, they'll cry, apologize, and pull you back in with emotion so intense that you confuse it for love again. Psychologists call this the drama cycle. It's a pattern of emotional highs and lows that release dopamine, the same chemical your brain releases during gambling or drugs. Now, that's why it feels addictive. You start craving the makeup moments after the fights. But that's not connection. That's emotional turbulence disguised as passion. What she's doing, often unconsciously, is conditioning you. Every time you forgive after chaos, you're teaching her that love means tolerance, that as long as she cries hard enough, you'll forget how much it hurt. And little by little, you start normalizing instability. You stop craving peace because you've learned to associate love with pain. And that brings us to the final, and perhaps the most dangerous, red flag. A woman who doesn't admire you. She may like you, she may be attracted to you, but deep down, she doesn't respect you. And without respect, no love can survive. You'll notice it in small ways, the way she dismisses your opinions, mocks your goals, or talks down to you in front of others. She might flirt with other men to test your reaction. Or she might say things like, you're overthinking it when you try to express your feelings. But what she's really saying is, I don't value your emotions the way I value mine. And once respect dies, everything else follows. See, attraction might make her want you, but respect makes her stay with you. Without it, the relationship becomes a game of who can hold power longer. She stops following your lead, stops trusting your direction, and eventually starts resenting you for the same strength that once attracted her. That's why it's so important to spot these red flags early, because by the time you see them clearly, you're usually too emotionally invested to walk away easily. You keep thinking she'll change or that love can fix her, but here's the hard truth. Love doesn't fix red flags, awareness does, and that awareness starts when you stop romanticizing pain. You know what's wild? Most men don't miss the red flags because they're blind. They miss them because they care. You want to see the best in her. You want to believe that what you feel means something real, that the chaos is just temporary, that love will eventually settle things down. But love doesn't fix dysfunction, it just magnifies it. You see, every man has that moment, that quiet realization where you sit alone, replaying every argument, every emotional twist, every apology that didn't mean change. And that's when it hits you. You were trying to save someone who was never drowning. She was just pulling you down with her. That realization hurts, but it's also your awakening. Because the truth is, red flags aren't warnings about her. They're lessons about you. They reveal what you tolerate, what you chase, what you mistake for love. They show how much of your worth you're willing to trade for temporary attention. And the moment you start valuing your peace more than her presence, everything changes. Let me tell you something most men never hear. Walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom, it's emotional maturity. It's the moment you stop trying to fix what was never yours to repair. Because real strength isn't about holding on, it's about knowing when to let go. When you start respecting your own boundaries, you'll notice something shift. The wrong women will leave on their own. The ones who feed on control, chaos, and manipulation can't survive around a man who's emotionally grounded. They need your confusion to feel powerful. So when you move from confusion to clarity, they lose control. And in that space, something new begins. You start attracting peace instead of drama, depth instead of games. A woman who doesn't test your worth, she recognizes it, who doesn't compete for control, she respects your leadership, who doesn't drain your strength, she helps you grow it. That's what real feminine energy does. It doesn't fight your masculinity, it trusts it. But you'll never meet that kind of woman if you keep entertaining the ones who hide behind red flags, because every time you choose chaos, you teach your heart to settle for less. So here's the truth. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to walk away. Not with bitterness, not with hate, but with quiet understanding. Because once you've seen behind the mask, you can never unsee it. And when you finally learn to trust your intuition, not your emotions, not your desire, but your intuition, that's when everything changes. You stop chasing connection and start commanding respect. You stop reacting to red flags and start recognizing patterns. You stop losing yourself, trying to be enough, because you finally realize you already are. And that's the moment your entire dynamic with women shifts forever.